Okay. I can't help it. This is too interesting to not share. All right, so what I was talking to Mr. Segrito on YouTube about was this teleport function in the VMS basic source code, and he says that in the PC version, teleporters teleport you to a random row and column, and based on all of my 99% of my playing of this game being on the PC version, I concur with that assessment. But the teleport function in the VMS basic version is different. So, all right, this is what I was talking about with those fucking arrays. But so it tells you you've been teleported, and then it changes the dungeon level that you're on. That's what C15 is. It looks to me like based upon whether the total of your X and Y location is odd or even, which is kind of bonkers. But that's what it does, I guess. And then it keeps you from teleporting out of the dungeon, i.e. level 0, and it keeps you from teleporting down below the lowest possible level of the dungeon there. And then down here, I know 6 isn't a prime number, but this is like classical pseudo-random shit here. These are very small prime numbers. You're supposed to use very large prime numbers for this, for generating these pseudo-random numbers like this. But you take you take your current value and you multiply it by some prime number, the bigger the better, but these are very small, and then you take the modulus of that, and that's how pseudo-random number streams are generally generated. And a pseudo-random number stream is predictable. Like if you have it seeded with a certain value, the next value in the sequence will always be the same, but they appear to be random. They're not actually random, and statistical analysis will reveal that they're not actually random, but to the casual observer, they seem to be random. And so I think that's what's going on here. So if a teleporter is in the dungeon at a certain XY location on a certain level, all right, then it will always teleport you to the same pseudo-random location so far, all right? But then down here, 20% of the time, it loops back up here and goes through all of this again. So 80% of the time in the VMS version, it appears that you'll get teleported to the same place. 20% of the time you'll get teleported to a different place, but it'll always be the same different place the second time around through this loop. And then 20% of that 20% of the time, it'll loop back through it again and instead take you to a third place that's always going to be the same. And by this point, I think that the chances of it looping back through again are dropping exponentially every time it goes through this loop. So I think that it's extremely unlikely. I mean, I'm sure there's still a chance, but it's like it'll probably be somewhere in the neighborhood of like 1 in 1,000 or something like that. I'm too dumb to think about that off the top of my head, and I'm sorry for my fingers being so filthy. I've been spreading manure on pastures all day, and I just got in and having my beer, and I haven't showered yet, so deal with it. Anyway, so that's very interesting. That's a major difference between the PC and the VMS versions of this game, because I guarantee you that the PC version, which is based on the Pascal port of this game, which apparently Dan did himself at DEC, doesn't behave this way. I'm 90% sure it teleports you randomly. So that's interesting, and that leads me to wonder, since this is an earlier version of the code than the Pascal version that the PC version of the game is based on, if some of the earlier dungeons could have been designed with this behavior in mind. Like Telengard was a very early dungeon, and 1 or 2 of the others, I can't remember, were also made by Dan's buddies when he was still doing this on Tops 10. And those dungeons, if those dungeons were were designed with this behavior in mind. It's possible, that they would have been designing a dungeon level, and they would place a teleporter down, and they'd step into it and see where it took them, and then design more of the dungeon around that. And that makes me think that in our remake of this game, it would probably behoove us to, at least as an option, reproduce this nasty, gnarly teleporter behavior in case some of the dungeon levels are designed around that. And in fact, it makes me kind of want to modify my map extraction programs to number all of the teleporters on each dungeon level. Or actually, since it appears that it can teleport them between levels, I'd have to just number them through the whole dungeon and put a marker on the maps where each of the teleporter destinations is, and then take a look at the maps and see if it looks like they were designed, at least the older ones, with this behavior in mind. Very interesting. All right, gentlemen. Stay awesome. I will see you soon.